A game developer named Seju was running in panic in the middle of the bustling city of Barcelona. While gasping for air, he called a well-known investor from South Korea named Jin Woo and tried to make a deal with him. At that moment, he managed to steal the investor's attention until they finally agreed to meet in the city of Granada. Seju continued his escape by taking the train, but since then, he mysteriously disappeared. Jin Woo was in Spain, and it didn't take long for him to arrive in Granada. He received the beta game file sent by Seju via a link which he then sent to his company to be tested. He also assigned his personal investigator to investigate Seju's background as a form of anticipation if the whole agreement was a scam. When he arrived in Granada, Jin Woo visited Hostel Bonita, a small hostel managed by a South Korean family. The manager, Hee-ju, took him to a room on the 6th floor, the only room available there. Hee-ju couldn't understand why Jin Woo, who looked rich, picked her humble place instead of a luxury hotel. That night, Jin Woo decided to test Seju's game called Memories of the Alhambra. The game was based on augmented reality, which allowed its users to see virtual objects in the real world. It didn't take long for Jin Woo's company in South Korea to successfully embed the game into the newly developed Smart Lens, a contact lens that had various advanced features in it, combined with technology, brought a very big breakthrough that allowed anyone to play games with close-to-reality experience. Shortly after, Jin Woo put the Smart Lens and tried the game. He got instructions to come to the square in the city of Granada. He witnessed how realistic the game was. He saw the statue of knight suddenly turn into a living true warrior, and when the knight approached, it attacked him injured. Jin Woo was declared defeated and immediately quit the game. Jin Woo tried it one more time seriously. A hint led him to get the weapon located in the restroom of the restaurant. He found a sword that appeared from the ceiling and grabbed it in awe. After winning the battle, Jin Woo got the key to the next mission. He was very happy and kept imagining how this game could change the world, but he also began to worry if the game fell into someone else's hands. Jin Woo returned to the hostel and was annoyed that many of the facilities were not functioning. He thought that Hee-ju was incompetent in managing the hostel and looked down at the place, which had almost nothing to offer to the visitors. Those words hurt Hee-ju's feelings, who had struggled a lot to manage her family's business. Jin Woo himself was forced to stay at the place because Seju asked him to, but until now, he never showed up. After receiving a call from his personal investigator, Jin Woo finally knew that Seju was only 17 years old and he needed a trustee for doing business agreement. His investigator said that Seju's parents had passed away and his current legal trustee was his sister, Hee-ju, the manager, as well as the owner of the hostel. Jin Woo fell silent in realization, realizing that the woman he had hurt her feelings for was Seju's trustee who would decide everything. Seju was the second child of 3 siblings who lived with his grandmother and ran the hostel business together. Knowing that Jin Woo's attitude changed drastically towards Hee-ju, that wasn't enough to change the mood of Hee-ju since she was already annoyed at him. The other day, Jin Woo went looking for Seju at Granada Station, but he couldn't find him. He returned to the hostel and finally knew that Hee-ju was not just the manager of the hostel. His investigator told him that Hee-ju had a lot of jobs and was the backbone of the family. This fact made Jin Woo realize that he had misunderstood her all this time, who he thought was incompetent at work. Seju's disappearance hadn't had much progress and his family didn't seem to be bothered because he often left the house for days. Amid the uncertainty, Jin Woo was surprised by the appearance of another player in the game. He tried to find him and it turned out that the player in question was Hyung-seok, his former friend and enemy that hated so much. He didn't know how Hyung-seok could get the game in his hands. In this unexpected meeting, Jin Woo was very ambitious to be Hyung-seok, even though it was just a game. Unfortunately, he was forced to withdraw because his level was too low and promised to come to see him again. After a deeper investigation, it turned out that Seju applied for a patent for his game under the name Hostel Bonita, which means that Jin Woo only needed to buy the hostel to get the game's license. He immediately went to see Hee-ju and explained that he would buy the hostel with 10 billion won. At that moment, Hee-ju found out that Jin Woo was a well-known person from South Korea. That offer struck her like lightning. She once tried to sell the hostel, but none dared to offer a reasonable price. Meanwhile, even though Hee-ju didn't know that her hotel held the patent for a game made by her brother, Jin Woo had no intention of deceiving her and gave the price he thought was fair. Jin Woo put a little play on his offer. He asked Hee-ju to quickly make a decision, otherwise, the price would continue to go down. She panicked to be faced with such a life-changing auction and ran to the toilet to call her family. She finally convinced herself that there was no reason for her to turn down the offer, but she accidentally locked herself in the toilet and was later found unconscious inside by Jin Woo. Jin Woo immediately took her to the hospital, and he still gave a price of 10 billion won for their contract agreement. Hee-ju and her family were very happy that the debt they had been bearing was finally able to be paid off, and even though the hostel had been sold, they could still stay until they found a new place. After successfully obtaining the game's license, Jinwoo entered the game to learn more deeply. He entered Cafe Alcazaba, which would later become a lobby where players could gather to share information, make alliances, exchange weapons, and accept certain quests. When meeting with a group of NPCs, Jinwoo tried to interact with them but was rejected because he had to be at level 5 to unlock the feature. From behind, Jinwoo heard guitar playing from a female NPC who looked very similar to Hee-ju. The information said that the NPC was named Emma, the cafe guitarist. Jinwoo was amazed by her beauty and he kept looking at her for a while. Seju created the character Emma not without a reason. In the past, Hee-ju was very skilled at playing guitar. She even received various awards, and their father suggested that the family move to Spain to develop Hee-ju's talent. Despite their doubts, the family sold all assets and moved to Spain where they opened Hostel Bonita, but only after entering guitar school that Hee-ju realized that she was not great. Within a year, their mother got sick and finally passed away. Their father drowned in grief before finally becoming a drunkard and died in an accident. Since then, Hee-ju dropped out of school to take care of her siblings and continued managing the hostel, a legacy of their family. Hee-ju's dream vanished and it was almost impossible to achieve. As a brother, Seju tried to make his sister's dream come true through a game he made, and because of that, he created the character Emma. Jinwoo met Hee-ju, who invited him to dinner as a form of gratitude for buying her hostel. Jinwoo guessed that Hee-ju was good at playing guitar, just like the character Emma created by her brother. That guess made Hee-ju wonder why Jinwoo could find out. That became the beginning of their story together. After grinding his player to level 4, Jinwoo called Hyung-seok for a duel. They meet in a park and fight each other. Their abilities were not much different because they were on the same level. This tension brought up memories between them. Jinwoo and Hyung-seok used to be friends and they worked together to build a company. Hyung-seok's father, Professor Cha, got involved and supported both, but he believed more in Jinwoo, who he considered more competent than his son. Hyung-seok felt betrayed and started to hate his best friend, and as a form of revenge, he took Jinwoo's wife and then married her after they divorced. The incident ruined their friendship until finally Hyung-seok left and made a new company. Since that incident, Jinwoo closed his heart and never trusted anybody. Even when he married for the second time, that relationship didn't last long. The battle heated up when both began to fight physically. They both got a penalty when the system detected a physical fight. When they returned to fight following the rules, Jinwoo vented all his anger, and he managed to beat Hyung-seok. He left feeling satisfied and decided to immediately return to Korea, but the next day, his secretary informed him that Hyung-seok was found dead on a park bench with his eyes wide open. Jinwoo was shocked to realize that Hyung-seok died after fighting with him, and he suspected that something was wrong. He canceled his return and tried to find out what was really going on. Hyung-seok's wife, Soo-jin, was pregnant. She fainted upon hearing her husband's death. They tried to call a doctor, but there was a language barrier. Jinwoo knew that and asked for Hee-ju's help to accompany her, as well as being a translator for her. After she woke up, she was mad and thought that Jinwoo did that as a form of revenge. Jinwoo didn't give any reaction before finally going to investigate this case. Things got even stranger when Hyung-seok came back to life as an NPC. Not long after, Jinwoo managed to beat Hyung-seok easily, but he somehow would come back to life at certain moments, and that made Jinwoo restless. Jinwoo kept trying to find out what really happened. In the process, he got the news that the train station had found a bag and his phone number in the bag. It turned out that the bag belonged to Seju, who was left behind after he was declared missing. Jinwoo took it and speculated that Seju left it because he was being chased by someone, but he decided to keep the discovery a secret from Seju's family so they wouldn't worry. One night, Jinwoo came to Hostel Bonita to find some information about Seju. He said that he wanted to borrow Seju's computer for work. Hee-ju let him without knowing what was really going on. When Jinwoo was looking for clues, he found the address of someone named Marco written in a notebook. He then asked his personal investigator to find out who Marco really was. Jinwoo stayed at the hostel and pondered the previous incident. While engrossed in reverie, he heard music playing before finally meeting again with Hyung-seok's NPC. He tried to calm down, but this time he was really injured when he was hit. He was too weak to hold on and finally fell from the 6th floor. Hee-ju, who saw the incident, shook with panic. Jinwoo was rushed to the hospital and fortunately was able to survive. Jinwoo woke up and realized that all the stab wounds he received earlier were gone. He also realized that he wasn't using the smart lens when he fought with Hyung-seok, and that means he never entered the game when it happened. Hyung-seok's presence that night made no sense. Jinwoo was worried that the game was really broken, and he was caught between two realities at the same time. Hee-ju didn't understand why he was so sad when he saw Jin-woo seriously injured. She also looked annoyed when Jin-woo underestimated his recovery time. Hee-ju's sister saw that and said that his sister was starting to like Jin-woo. She was clearly trying to match them both. The news of Hyung-suk's death finally spread in Korea and became the center of attention for the media. Everyone speculated that Jin-woo was related to the case considering their relationship, who was a former business partner. Prof should try to calm down and not suspect Jin-woo of his son's death. In fact, he asked the police to immediately close the case and admit that his son died because of a heart attack. Meanwhile, Jin-woo was confronted by Hyung-suk's NPC once again. He tried to escape with his unhealed injury in his leg. The game continued even without the help of the smart lens, which proved that he was indeed trapped in the game. When Jin-woo closed his eyes to give up after being cornered, Hee-ju called him from a distance and looked very worried. Jin-woo pulled her into a hug and begged her to stay like that until the system detected an obstacle and the fight was postponed. In the end, Hyung-suk's NPC left and Jin-woo was returned to his room. Since then, people slowly started doubting Jin-woo and thought that he had a mental disorder. The situation got worse when Jin-woo was constantly haunted by Hyung-suk's NPC from time to time. He was declared suffering from anxiety disorder and had to undergo a recovery period. Jin-woo lived in a hotel where Hee-ju cared for him with great attention. She felt guilty because Jin-woo had the incident in her hostel. Besides, she also wanted to help him as a form of gratitude for saving his family from misery, and through this incident, their relationship got closer day by day. Hee-ju didn't know what was really going on, and even though she kept seeing Jin-woo's unreasonable behavior, she tried to believe in him. Meanwhile, Jin-woo, who didn't want to involve Hee-ju in his problems, decided to go to America and recover there. This sudden parting made Hee-ju feel devastated because in the end, she really liked Jin-woo and had feelings for him. A year passed and Jin-woo's company in South Korea had done various tests on memories of the Alhambra before finally releasing it to the public. Meanwhile, Hee-ju got periodic emails from Se-ju, not realizing that they were fake letters made by Jin-woo, so she didn't keep worrying about her brother. Until now, Se-ju's disappearance still hasn't found a bright spot, but Jin-woo kept trying to find him. All developments of Memories of the Alhambra were supervised by Director Park, an interim director who replaced Jin-woo while he was recovering. When the players tried the game in the middle of the city, Jin-woo came with his gun and shot them one by one. The incident surprised the company because there shouldn't have been any players who had firearms yet. It turned out that during his recovery, Jin-woo continued to level up in the game. He returned to Korea early and hid himself to continue playing. He was at level 85 and had many weapons to deal with Hyung-suk's NPC who kept haunting him. Even though the injury to his leg had not recovered yet, he was still passionate about solving all the problems that were going on. Hee-ju decided to move to Seoul with her family and open a guitar shop. Knowing this, Jin-woo came to Hee-ju's new house where he was greeted unusually. Jin-woo pretended not to know about the fake emails he made, but it turned out that Hee-ju had long realized this lie. At first, Hee-ju was not suspicious, but as Se-ju's sister, she finally realized that it was not Se-ju who sent the emails. All this time, she kept worrying about her brother alone and did not tell her grandma so she wouldn't worry. Jin-woo confessed everything, starting from the motive for his coming to Granada and the reason why he wanted to buy Hee-ju's hostel at a high price. Knowing that, Hee-ju felt betrayed. All this time, she thought that Jin-woo was trying to help her family sincerely, but it was nothing more than his way to fulfill his ambition. The fact that her brother was still missing made Hee-ju very sad, remembering that she did almost nothing to look for him because she was lied to by Jin-woo. Jin-woo apologized and said that his life was too chaotic to understand other people's feelings. Jin-woo explained that for a year, he had been trying to find clues about Se-ju's disappearance. Based on the information he got from his personal investigator before Se-ju went missing, Se-ju had met Marco, a drug addict who had a lot of debt. Marco got to know Se-ju through online games and they started to be friends in the real world. But when Marco found out that Se-ju had created a game, he brought the game to Hyung-suk and gave him a trial access before it was sold, and it was through this deal that Hyung-suk could enter Memories of the Alhambra. Marco took over everything from Se-ju and forced him to follow all his decisions, but not long after that, Marco was found dead. Se-ju panicked and contacted Jin-woo to ask for help from him. At that time, they agreed to meet in Granada, but then Se-ju disappeared mysteriously while riding the train. Hee-ju didn't know that all this time Jin-woo felt hopeless because he was constantly haunted by Hyung-suk's NPC. But after seeing the investigation file, Hee-ju realized that the man had struggled a lot to find her missing brother. At first, Jin-woo planned to come to meet Hee-ju after he managed to find Se-ju. The feeling of longing made him unable to wait any longer, and this is proof that he also liked her after spending a lot of time with her in Spain. After returning from America, Jin-woo kept thinking about what really happened to Se-ju. At that time, he suspected that from the start, the game was already broken. and what he was experiencing right now also happened to Seiju. He speculated that the dispute between Seiju and Marco provoked them to fight, and Marco, who was defeated, died in the real world, just like Hyung-seok. Marco came back to life as an NPC who then continued to chase Seiju, but the situation was much more dangerous because Marco's NPC at that time had a firearm and Seiju certainly had no choice but to run away to avoid him. Jinwoo realized that Seiju went through all the obstacles to meet him not solely to sell his work for money, but because he wanted to repair the game that had been problematic from the start. That was why Jinwoo continued to level up in the game, hoping to find the bug that caused the damage. Jinwoo asked the developer at the company to create a playing area in an abandoned school. When people thought that Jinwoo was crazy, his loyal secretary tried to understand him and tried to play memories of the Alhambra with him, but when his secretary formed an alliance with him, they seemed to share the same fate, where the wound his secretary received from the game felt real, and Hyung-seok's NPC detected him as a new target to exterminate. When Jinwoo reached level 90, he got a message asking him to come to Alhambra Palace in Granada. The message said that it was a task that could only be done there. Jinwoo thought that it was a message sent by Seiju as the game master. In the end, he decided to return to Granada, hoping to find Seiju there. The company urged Director Park to immediately release memories of the Alhambra. Jinwoo thwarted the plan because he knew that the game was broken and could clearly harm the players, but the company couldn't believe it because the reason given by Jinwoo didn't make sense at all. Jinwoo promised to find Seiju to fix the error, and the company gave him a limited time to prove it. Heiju couldn't digest all that information at once, but she still believed that they would be able to find her missing brother. When Jinwoo and his secretary arrived at Granada Station, things went awry when a storm suddenly appeared and enemy NPCs started showing up. Jinwoo was separated from his secretary, who was struggling to fight the enemies. He was carried away by the train, and the game stopped when he left Granada. Jinwoo lost contact with his secretary. He then returned to Granada and decided to start his secret task alone. The game gave him instructions to rescue the game master in Alhambra Palace, and upon arrival, Jinwoo entered the dungeon below the palace, where he started dealing with tougher enemies. Jinwoo was only allowed to use weapons originating from Alhambra. All weapons he had disappeared, leaving only a rusty sword. When Jinwoo was overwhelmed by the enemies, his secretary came to help him, but his condition looked different. He had turned into an NPC and experienced glitching, just like Hyung-seok. Jinwoo found the golden key shortly before the palace guards kicked him out because the place was not open to the public. He was forced to leave, and not long after that, the police from Granada found his secretary dead. Jinwoo was devastated after hearing that. He started to get frustrated. When he returned to Korea, things got even more chaotic. He had a crisis when everyone started to think that he was crazy about the game. Even rumor has it that he went crazy because he killed Hyung-seok and his secretary. Jinwoo tried to explain that the game was broken and he was trying to fix it, but no one in the company believed him. Heiju tried to believe in Jinwoo's decision. She realized how big a sacrifice Jinwoo had made to look for Seiju. She also saw sincerity in him that most people didn't see. In the end, Heiju decided to fight with Jinwoo against all the negative views towards him. That was when Jinwoo realized that he had fallen in love with Heiju. Meanwhile, Professor Cha, as the leader of the board at the company, led the opinion of the shareholders to fire Jinwoo from his position as the director. He didn't want the company's good image to be tainted because of the rumors circulating. Since the beginning, he was only concerned with the company and didn't care about Sujin as his daughter-in-law or even his grandkid. That greed closed his eyes from all the problems that were going on. Jinwoo continued to struggle even though the circumstances did not support him, until finally he found out that the error in the game was caused by Emma, the character inside the game who had a special function. One of the developers at the company said that Emma was programmed to maintain peace where all players close to her were not allowed to fight. Jinwoo suspected that the game's error started when Seiju met Marco at Cafe Alcazaba, where Emma was programmed there. At that time, Marco was blinded by greed and wanted to snatch memories of the Alhambra from Seiju and tried to get rid of him. When Marco attacked Seiju with a real weapon in front of Emma, the game experienced glitching after Emma detected that the incident violated the rules. At that moment, the game crashed into reality. Jinwoo experienced that irregularity when he communicated with Emma, and everyone who allied with him would experience a similar incident. On the other side, Professor Che reopened the case of his son's death so that the police would arrest Jinwoo and the plan to release the game could be continued. It was very detrimental to Jinwoo because he was the main suspect in the case. The police continued to hunt him down for interrogation. Jinwoo met Professor Cha and invited him to play Memories of the Alhambra so he could see firsthand that the game was broken to show that his son, Hyung-seok, was a victim of the game. When Professor Che entered the game and formed an alliance with Jinwoo, he felt that it really became a reality and affected his mind. Hyung Seok also appeared in front of him as an NPC, and Jin-woo immediately eliminated him. At that moment, Professor Che began to realize that what Jin-woo had been saying all this time was the truth. Jin-woo was not taking revenge, as he just wanted Professor Che to believe in him. In fact, he asked him to leave Seoul so as not to be affected by enemy attacks that kept hunting him. Director Park finally believed Jin-woo after receiving an explanation from Professor Cha, but it was too late for them to help Jin-woo from the police chase. Director Park suggested Jin-woo to go abroad, but Jin-woo refused because he didn't feel guilty at all. Jin-woo just wasn't ready to be caught. His enemy at this time was not only Hyung Seok's NPC, but also other NPC programmed for respawn around town. All he could do was continue to run away while looking for ways to solve all the problems that occurred. While Jin-woo continued to avoid the police chase, Hee-ju decided to enter Memories of the Alhambra and got the opportunity to see Emma in person. After tracking Jin-woo's whereabouts and meeting him at a cafe, Hee-ju finally realized that surviving in the game was not an easy matter. Luckily, she would not die even though she was seriously injured, because he was not in an alliance with Jin-woo and was trapped in the game like him. Jin-woo was in a deadlock. He stopped receiving new quests, and the golden key that he previously obtained could only be used after reaching level 100. After a conversation with Hee-ju, Jin-woo realized something. He found out that Memories of the Alhambra was heavily inspired by a popular mythology in Granada, a story of Fatima, a woman who was believed to hold the key to heaven. Hee-ju remembered that her brother had researched the story, and after seeing the character Emma made by her younger brother, she believed that she was Fatima from the mythology. Jin-woo concluded that his final mission would end if he handed over the key to Emma, the embodiment of Fatima, who could open the gate to heaven. Jin-woo hoped everything would return to normal if he managed to finish the game. Jin-woo's leg injury was recovered only when the game server was active. In short, he could walk normally while in game mode. Even so, he couldn't go freely because the police started to suspect him as a criminal. Meanwhile, Hee-ju, who was worried, was eager to help, but Jin-woo refused, not wanting to drag her into distress. After fighting his way up to level 100, Jin-woo instructed the developers and the company to program Emma somewhere close to him. Emma was programmed in a church where Jin-woo came and immediately handed over the key. The game was over, and as suspected, Memories of the Alhambra would be reprogrammed when someone had completed the last mission. It turned out that the golden key could clear a bug or error inside the game. Jin-woo realized that he was part of the bug when Emma stabbed him. Jin-woo thwarted the action because he still had things to do before he was erased from the game. Memories of the Alhambra's server was shut down, and all the enemies roaming around the city were gone. Jin-woo went to Professor Cha and urged him to have a press conference. He wanted to clear up the police's misunderstanding through Professor Che's confession, and then deleted it as part of the bug using the golden key. But Professor Cha, who did not want himself to be erased, ordered someone in the company, hoping that Jin-woo would be overwhelmed against the NPCs while he was hiding. Unfortunately, he himself met Hyung Seok's NPC and was killed by him. Jin-woo, who managed to survive, went to Hee-ju's house for the last time. After remembering some moments of togetherness with Hee-ju, he returned to the church and submitted himself to Emma. Jin-woo's struggle ended when Emma deleted him and started reprogramming Memories of the Alhambra, including erasing all the bugs inside the game. Director Park regretted what he had done, while Hee-ju had to give up the person he loved so much. After what happened, Seju returned to Korea to meet his family. Seju explained that all this time he had been hiding using Instance Dungeon, a feature that allows players to create a dimension where other players and NPCs cannot see it. As the game master, he used it to trick Marco's NPC, who continued to chase him while on the train. But because the game was broken and crashed into reality, Seju went into a different dimension and was stuck in it for that long, as he could only hope that someone would be able to complete the last mission in Memories of the Alhambra. When Jin-woo completed the last mission and the game was reprogrammed, Seju was freed and came back without experiencing many changes. Seju didn't know that his game could harm other people and was very sorry after knowing that Jin-woo risked his life to help him. A year later, the company rebuilt the server before finally releasing the game to the public and played safely. Meanwhile, Director Park tried to accept the fact that Jin-woo was gone. He led the company and tried to do his best to manage it. Augmented reality games became a new culture. The government accepted the change after limiting the playing area and time for the sake of public safety. While the people were happy with it, Hee-ju struggled and patiently waited for Jin-woo. Meanwhile, Director Park sent Seju to lead their branch company. The staff welcomed him, considering he was a genius who had founded Breakthrough. When Seju met with developers in the company, he revealed that there was a possibility that Jin-woo didn't die. Seju said that the reward for completing the last mission was the Master title. Those who got the title could use the Instance Dungeon feature, a feature that represented heaven in Memories of the Alhambra. Those who successfully complete the last mission will get the master title and enter heaven. There was a possibility that Junwoo was trapped in that paradise when he completed his last mission, but he couldn't get out because after the game was reprogrammed, the company shut down the server. Seju believed that the server became a bridge connecting the real world and the virtual world, and because the server was shut down, Junwoo lost access to return to reality. In fact, Emma didn't kill Junwoo as she was just trying to get rid of the bug attached to Junwoo's character inside the game, and because memories of the Alhambra had been repaired and released to the public, the company had restarted the server. If indeed Junwoo went to heaven, Seju believed that he would be back soon. On the other hand, Hiju went to a restaurant where she overheard people's conversations about a mysterious player who defeated enemies using high-level weapons that ordinary players could not have. Hiju realized that the figure was Junwoo and she immediately entered the game to look for him. All the determination she put in to patiently wait for him bore fruit when Junwoo returned. The two of them finally met each other, and that became the beginning of their love story.